Good morning and a happy Monday morning to everybody. All right, in this particular video, there's no royal family stuff. This is straight up Vanity Fair article because you guys know me, I had to hold it back. I had to wait, I had to research, I had to read, I had to look, and oh my God. You know me also, I brought my video, I brought my photos, I brought my receipts. And you guys should know, I actually wrote to Tom Bauer, the author of the book Revenge, and he wrote back. And that's in here also, okay? So let's jump in and let's cover this because it's a lot. Let's go. I'm going to start with this to show you that the signs were there even before the wedding finished of what a bully Meghan was. Stories are now coming out saying that Meghan had a 16-foot veil and it became a problem because it got caught on her heel when she stepped out of the Rolls Royce, the same one, by the way, that took the Duchess of Windsor. It took her to St. James Chapel on May 19th. Her heel became entangled and she needed a moment to fix it. But they're saying the escorting officer who opened the door didn't offer her any help. Tom Bauer said the escorting officer who opened the door didn't offer her any help. And the reason they remained unhelpful was because there was an incident during the wedding rehearsal the day before and no one had any feelings of goodwill towards her. And she sorted it out herself. But that's actually not what happened. I've shown you this video before. Let's look again. What happened was her heel got caught. This guy goes to help her. He goes to touch her dress. She shoves his hand off. Don't touch me. Don't touch my dress. So he's standing there like, okay, let's see that again a little slower. He puts out his hand. She lets go. He goes to grab her veil. She goes, don't touch me. And then she looks up at her friend Jessica. So from the very beginning, there were all kinds of signs that this girl was going to be a problem. I think there was a lot going on behind the scenes and the Queen was aware of it. And that's why she looked so unhappy at the actual wedding. We had the Daily Beast. We had the Hollywood Reporter. All these people reporting about Meghan Markle, basically what a nasty piece of work she is. But now, here we go, Vanity Fair, who's always been nice to them, has suddenly turned. I am not going to read this whole article to you, but here it is, so you can stop and read it for yourself, but I'm going to paraphrase some areas. Here we go. Page 1 talks about their house, the fact that it's got 13 fireplaces. It's just cost $14.65 million for more than 18,000 square feet, which is half the current media price per square foot in Montecito, that it was such a great deal, and points out that January is 5 years since, they failed with the royal family and they left. This second page talks about how Harry works still with Invictus Games and Centibale, and, he did The Spare, and that Meghan did her 40 by 40 initiative. They start name dropping Canada's Sophie Trudeau and good friend Melissa McCarthy. Then they talk about how Meghan rejoined Instagram to announce American Riviera Orchard. They talk about the docuseries Polo. It goes on about all the things that, they think they're going to do. The next page talks about the Spotify deal, how excited everybody at Spotify was to work with them. Netflix, by the way, this is interesting. Netflix said that we don't disclose financial deals with talent, but they can confirm that the 100 million figure was not correct that everybody said they got. This is where it starts to turn a little bit. They say the development process was challenging, and a former Spotify employer said they had this idea to do a podcast because they knew celebrities did them. Basically, other than that, they didn't know what they were doing. The article goes on to talk about how Harry had the idea of talking to Mark Zuckerberg and Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump about their, bad childhoods. And as time passed, it would be 2 years between their deal signing and the premiere of Archetypes, and that Spotify began applying pressure to produce anything that somebody might listen to. The article infers that Harry really didn't want to be there and didn't really want to be doing that. And of course, we know then that Bill Simmons called them effing grifters. The article actually went on to say that Meghan did not come up with the idea for Archetypes. It was another employee, and she basically had to be talked into it. Exactly. Now, again, you can stop the screen and read these if you want. It then goes on to say that the issues that they had with them extended into the workplace. People had to be brought in and help them because they couldn't do anything on their own. They then go on to talk about the employees working with her and then leaving because they're having issues working with her, which I found very interesting. Now, this is one of the most important lines in the article. It says, it's hard to imagine how someone who seems so earnestly intent on being kind and engaging in world-improving activities could wind up engaging in revanticism with people so below her in status. Wow. So finally, one of these places has decided to turn and not go with everybody else. It's the positive puff pieces that they've been paying for quite some time. Remember, we know that they have online hate speech. We know that they promote lies and disinformation about themselves. We know that they have rewarded their Sussex Squad members. We know that they are aware of them. They don't do anything to stop them because, after all, they say things on their behalf. So just like the Oprah show, which I debunked, we are now going to go through the Vanity Fair article and show everything that they debunked, and there's a lot. One of the first things this article points out is that a lot of staff needed therapy after working with Meghan Markle. We know that she claims that she's not a bully. This was just a smear campaign put out by the palace. Remember that? The palace, as it turns out, never needed to release that bullying report. Of course, the people that Vanity Fair spoke to had to do so anonymously because of the NDAs that Harry and Meghan have everybody sign, because she has to silence them and take their voices. I am absolutely shocked that WME and all these other people have not been able to shut this story down, but then they can't shut the other stories down. And remember, these are two very litigious people. If this isn't true, they'll sue. They sue anybody at the drop of a hat. They didn't sue Tom Bauer. They didn't sue Valentine Lowe. And that's because you cannot sue when something is true. The high staff turnover rate speaks volumes, and one of the sources told the writer she felt that Meghan chose to just ignore her own shortcomings or personal contributions to situations. Instead, she's a victim and her perception is altered. Another interesting part in the article is when somebody said, quote, you can be yelled at even if somebody doesn't raise their voice. And it's funny that people don't differentiate between the energy of being yelled at and literally somebody screaming at you. That is classic narcissistic abuse. Another thing we learned from this article is that the people who live around Harry and Meghan have slammed them as being, quote, the most entitled, disingenuous people on the planet. They have become the local villains because supposedly they moved away from England to get away from scrutiny of the press, and then all they do is try to get in the press in the United States. Locally, they're known as the Prince and the Starlet, and there's been a lot of paps around where normally these people could walk around and nobody bothered them, but that's not the case because we all know that behind the scenes, Meghan calls the paps everywhere she goes. It's ridiculous. Another thing that came out was that Meghan was, as I told you a minute ago, was not responsible for archetypes. What we found out later on was that Rebecca Sananis, who stepped down from Archwell, came in and said, actually, it was her idea. She said she was the executive producer and creator of archetypes. She said that they are not the producers, that the producers edit, research, write, make scripts, make the sound good, score, everything you love, that Meghan had nothing to do with that. And of course, we found out later on that Meghan didn't even do some of the interviews. Other people did. And then they dubbed her voice in over them. She did like the minimum amount of work. Even though these two were given absolutely every opportunity on a silver platter, the two of them could not give consistent, successful content. They said they just wanted to turn on their mic and have a big theme that would explain the world. They also said that Harry was very challenging to work with, that he gave off this air of, why should I do this? And people were like, well, didn't Spotify pay you a lot of money to do this? They said Harry was completely disinterested in actually doing any work. Why does that not surprise me? Another interesting thing in the article, which may explain why Meghan is never invited to anything that has to do with Oprah, is because it says that Terry Wood, who is an executive producer at Oprah's Harpo production, was brought in to help Meghan with archetypes, and that Wood was apparently very angry, saying that she used to yell at the Spotify staffers. The next thing that came out was just absolutely disgusting. They're saying that Meghan is literally reparenting Harry and acts like a mother towards him. Remember, I told you before, it's like that Oedipus thing. It's disgusting because that's like him sleeping with his mother. Remember, he keeps drawing parallels between her and Diana. And that way, his biggest fear is that history repeats itself. He's very protective of Meghan, just like he used to be about his mother. It's disgusting. And I think that's why she dresses like Diana, and she does the same mannerisms as Diana, and she did all the things like Diana. Please remember that Meghan Markle said that the palace made her dress like Diana, okay? That it was to bring the Diana sparkle. But every single picture that is now strolling across your screen was taken after they left the royal family, which shows that, quite frankly, she lied. Let's also not forget that it was during the Platinum Jubilee that she was overheard telling Harry that during her morning yoga session, Diana spoke to her and told her how happy she was that they had gone there. This article also touched on Meghan's claims that the royal family made her wear beige and white and neutral colors so she wouldn't stand out. But as you can see, she loved those colors before she met Harry, and she's loved those colors since she left the royal family. And of course, we also have seen all the pictures of all the colors that she wore while she was with Harry in the UK with the royal family. Another lie that was debunked by YouTubers quite some time ago. It is the oddest thing to me that Meghan Markle wore all of these colors during the 1.5 years, the 18 months she was inside the royal family, but still claims to people she never wore color, even though a gazillion pictures were taken of her in color. To me, that really shows some serious mental pathological issues. Now, besides acting like Harry's mother, there's been a lot of talk about the fact that Harry has literally no friends, which I tend to believe, because the only pictures taken of him with other men are with Nacho. And the behavior between the two of them has been called into question before. Harry's very hands-on with his friend there. It'll be interesting to see if that friendship continues. Another big bombshell from this article was that Harry honestly did not, quote, absorb the gravity of what it would mean to sell millions of copies of a tell-all book about a famous, very, very private family in the middle of a year-long public relation crisis. In other words, he really didn't understand the gravity of what he was doing. He didn't understand what he was doing while he was doing it. And the fact that he released private conversations and slammed his family at every turn, he didn't think there would be such repercussions from the book. If he honestly thought that, then to me, that just means he's an idiot. The next debunking thing that came out in this Vanity Fair article is people don't believe for 1 second that she didn't know how to curtsy. She took tap and ballet lessons as a child. One of the first things they teach you there is how to curtsy. And of course, we found out later on that she did a curtsy on Suits. So when she told this whole story about, I didn't know how to curtsy, and I was like, ooh, that was a lie. The Vanity Fair article also criticized American Riviera Orchard, saying that it is in fact Santa Barbara, which is known as American Riviera Orchard. It's referred to people of Montecito as saying they never heard this area known as it. The residents said it's such a hookerism, they said. It's finding every way you can to monetize everything. I completely agree. Something else that Vanity Fair pointed out is that Harry and Meghan don't know what change the world means, and they bring up the walk through the minefield from Princess Diana. She actually walked through a live minefield with a shield and a blast shield on. And so, Harry, I'm my mother's son. I'm going to continue her work. And the pictures come up of Harry walking what looks like, a minefield. But look behind Harry on the left. You see that bent tree on the left side of the picture? Well, here's that same tree while they set up the fake minefield. Here's the same people walking in that area. They're not wearing blast shields. They're not wearing any equipment because it wasn't a real minefield. Another thing that came out of that article was that Meghan was shopping for a post-divorce book from Harry with a publisher. It's being alleged that, people who work for Meghan had a conversation with a, quote, unnamed publishing house to gauge interest in the idea for the book. And that came from somebody with knowledge of the situation. Now, the timeline of this discussion apparently was not discussed, but, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But apparently the book was meant to be about the aftermath of the split from Harry and not Trevor Engelson, Meghan's first husband. Now, of course, Harry and Meghan were shocked and they claimed that that never happened. Of course, as soon as this information was struck, Meghan Markle's friends immediately went out like little drones to shut down the claims, saying, listen, if that's true to any degree, she would have been approached and not vice versa. No, I don't think so. My thought process about the whole thing is that Meghan is all about money. I've always said, and I'll repeat it again, Harry will not divorce Meghan. He is stuck like glue and he doesn't want to lose his kids. However, Meghan, on the other hand, I believe will have no trouble sloughing Harry off as soon as she feels that she can't get anything else from him. In my opinion, if Trump does throw Harry out of the country, Meghan's going to opt to stay, and that's how she's going to get away from him. And the kids, are going to have to stay with her. What's coming out now is they're saying that Harry and Meghan's perfect curated image as the picture-perfect California couple is in serious jeopardy. Bullying claims are the worst. Remember, the former UK employees called her a demon boss prone to psycho moments, and they felt vindicated by the Vanity Fair report. The former employees who spoke to the Daily Beast in September said that she's a demon in high heels. And the former person who spoke to the Daily Beast after the Vanity Fair report came out said, and I'm quoting, "I'm surprised that people spoke out, but I'm not surprised by the content of their allegations. It seems like nothing's changed. There's really nothing more to say." And somebody else said, "I feel sorry for those people affected because I've been there, but I also feel vindicated." Remember when Meghan said she was thrown to the wolves? Well, the ex-employee said that, Meghan's very warm to her staff until something goes wrong, and then she's cold and withholding. They said that when you're not in, you are thrown out to the wolves at any given moment. I was like, whoa. Now, in the end, something else that Harry said in the Vanity Fair article just really struck me. He wrote, and I'm quoting, "I have had a very bad childhood trauma. Obviously, my mother was essentially murdered." Yes, Harry believes in his head that his mother was murdered, even though she was in a car without her seatbelt being driven by a drunk driver who was speeding. So this is his thing. Now, I'm bringing this up because not only does it show that Harry is literally pathological, a follower of mine named Real Vampiress just sent me this book called The Murder of Princess Diana. Now, I'm going to read this book and I will let you know, what it says and my thought process in the end. But the fact is, Harry is like a 12-year-old emotionally who still believes that his mother was murdered. Now, I want to add as an FYI that I was very happy that they really didn't let Harry off the hook. I mean, they did a total hatchet job on Meghan, and they tried to make it seem like, Harry was just along for the ride and, blah, blah, blah. But the truth of the matter is, he's always been jealous of his brother. I think that he knew what was going to happen when they left. He knew what was going to happen with that Oprah show. There's no way that he said that, I just knew that we were going to come together sympathetically. Yeah, no, it blew up in his face. Now, at the end of this, I just wanted to let you guys know that I wrote to Tom Bauer. I love his book, Revenge. I love all of his stuff. And I asked him, what did he think about the fact that everything he wrote has basically been confirmed? He's been vindicated. What does he think of that? And a thank you to Resting Doll Face for this picture. She's fabulous. So I wrote to him and said, does that make you, what does that make you feel? And he wrote back, basically, the Vanity Fair article confirms a lot, and he thought that they did great journalism. It didn't make him any happier, but he's glad that, it was confirmed and good journalistic, work. I love it. So the question is, what will Harry and Meghan do now? Well, they're doing their usual thing. They're having their friends call People magazine and put out articles like this. Jose Andres praises his friends, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, for showing up and doing good. The problem is nobody's really buying these kinds of stupid puff pieces anymore. I think the royal family is sitting around with their cups of tea, sipping, watching all of this and going, wow, wow, wow. They never had to say anything. They stayed silent. They never had to say anything. There you go. Oh my God, I so want your comments. For the love of God, put them down and make them good, okay? Don't forget to hit the like button and the thumbs up to help with my algorithm. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the links to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, my physical address, and my Amazon wish list. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.